Hello, everyone. My name is Angel Aloma, and I am the president of Aloma Fundraising Strategies. The Nonprofits Alliance has asked me to do some short fundraising insights for the month, and this is my second one. Today, I'm going to tell you about two parts of the brain that are very, very important for fundraising. That is the amygdala and the hippocampus. They both are part of the limbic system of the brain, and they both reside in the medial temporal lobe of the brain. Now, they have two different functions. The amygdala tends to dismiss what is commonplace to the person, what they have seen very often, what is not any threat or danger to them, but he pays close attention to what could be dangerous, what is uncommon, what has been before unseen. So basically, we have a situation where if primitive man, because the amygdala is a very old part of the brain, so is the hippocampus, if primitive man sees a rabbit, but he has seen many rabbits before and hunted them before, the amygdala doesn't even notice. But if a tiger suddenly appears and the man has not seen a tiger before or hunted a tiger before, then the amygdala kicks in to let the man know you have to think about this. So the man thinks, can I make a meal out of this animal or will he make a meal of me? In this case, the latter is likely the one that would happen. So the man takes flight. And so the amygdala is responsible for the fight or flight response in human beings in a different era. And still today, when we're in a dangerous situation, it does kick in for that. But for primitive man, it was very, very useful. Now, you might wonder, how is this useful for fundraising? Well, the amygdala, once it takes a photo of that image of the tiger, will send it back to the hippocampus so the hippocampus can record it and also make a memory of the emotion that was felt by that man. Therefore, the next time that the man sees a tiger, he won't have to go through the same process. He will quickly know from the hippocampus that he needs to flee. Now, for fundraising, when we put photographs in our appeals or when we write copy for our appeals, if we write something that is commonplace to the person, that donor, that prospective donor or donor, will likely not take much notice. For example, if you're a charity or a nonprofit that deals with feeding starving children, if you show a child that looks very normal, that looks well fed, the amygdala will not notice because that's what we are accustomed to seeing in our families and in our societies. But if we show a child that is starving, then the amygdala will notice and will send a picture to the hippocampus. And if we feel emotional about it, which if we're not accustomed to seeing it, we will, then the hippocampus will record that same emotion. And so when the person sees a similar picture again, they will feel that same emotion again. And that is true if you think about your family reunions. At least in mine, when we get together, I have always noticed that we tell the same jokes and that we always laugh at them again. That's the hippocampus. He has actually taken a memory of how we have responded emotionally, and we will have a similar response when exposed to a similar stimulus. So this works out very well for fundraising. So we have to remember to always, in our copy and in our photographs, to do something that's a little bit different. But it can also work in other areas. For example, when I was executive director at Food for the Poor, I went to an event in Palm Beach. It was a daytime event, and I wore this very jacket and shirt and tie. And I wore it for a purpose today. Now, had I come on today with a gray jacket and a white shirt and a gray tie, you would likely not have taken notice. But because I'm wearing a pretty bright pink jacket and a Joseph's Technicolor shirt and a pretty bright blue tie, probably you might have thought maybe I should bring my sunglasses for this. You would take notice of it. And what happened at that event is that many people came and commented on my jacket, some of them positively, some of them a little less positively. But I made conversation with all of them. Some people actually asked me to take a photograph with them. And so again, I got to speak to them. So by the time I made my talk on that event, by the time I gave my speech, I had a pretty warm audience because I had gotten to know a lot of people because they had noticed this jacket and combination. So again, when we're writing our copy, make sure that there are things in it that the person does not experience on a daily basis. When we're putting a photograph, whether it be of a starving child or of a home being built for a poor family, make sure we put the hut in a before and after picture so that they can see the horrible conditions that will bring emotion to the hippocampus. And whenever they see a similar photo, they will feel a similar emotion. So we know that for a donor to give, or actually for someone to purchase something, you have to help and appeal to the right side of the brain, which is the emotional side. By doing this, by showing something that is not normal. For example, when I went to one of my trips in Guatemala, I met a little girl. She was 15 years old in one of our nutritional centers, and she weighed 41 pounds. I have never forgotten her. I've never forgotten her name. I remember I left there thinking, I have to work harder. I have to do more. This is a horrible injustice for a 15-year-old girl to weigh only a pound less than what my 6-year-old grandson weighed. So basically, when I went to Haiti, I walked into a hut and there was a little 4-year-old eating a handful of rice. His very skinny 7-year-old brother was looking very sad. And I asked him, "Puki sao pa manger?" in Creole, "Why aren't you eating?" And he responded, "Today it's not my turn to eat." I had never experienced something like that. My children and grandchildren never experienced hunger. So that again impacted me, and I felt horrible for that child. And so again, it encouraged me to work harder, to do more, to work longer hours so that children do not suffer that. So please keep it in mind when writing your appeals, when putting photographs in, that we need to alert the amygdala so that it sends the picture for long-term memory to the hippocampus so that we can be more successful in our fundraising. Thank you. I hope you got something from this. And please remember, fundraisers are world changers. They're making the world a better place. So please feel good about yourselves.